My mother-in-law lost her temper at my baby's birth yesterday. She insulted me, tried to name my baby, but ended up getting arrested after causing a scene. I am a 29-year-old woman married to my wonderful husband, Gary, and I am currently pregnant with our first child. It has been a very exciting journey so far. Gary and I have been together for a long time and got married 4 years ago. We have been trying to conceive since last year and were overjoyed when we found out I was pregnant 6 months ago. We have navigated life's ups and downs together. The news of a little one on the way has added so much happiness to our relationship. Every day brings us a little closer to meeting our little treasure, and we are so excited. My pregnancy has been an emotional roller coaster, from the excitement of finding out to those sweet moments when you can feel your baby kicking in your stomach. Gary has been my rock through all of this. He has been at every doctor's appointment. We have read parenting books together, and he is even helping to prepare a lovely nursery for our soon-to-arrive baby. Now we are totally focused on the baby, talking about names, decorating the room, and making plans for the future. Gary is so excited to be a dad, and that fills my heart. He is fully committed, sharing the burden of preparing for the baby. We are facing the challenges and the fun parts of pregnancy together, enjoying every moment. As we prepare to meet our little one 2 months ago, we decided that it was time to share the exciting news of my pregnancy with our family. We made sure we got through the crucial first trimester and were completely certain before sharing the joy with our loved ones. We invited all our parents, close relatives, and friends over for lunch. They arrived expecting a normal lunch, but upon noticing my growing belly, their expressions changed to expressions of joy and amazement. My mother started crying when she saw me and confirmed that I was indeed pregnant. She understood why we had kept the news a secret and was excited to soon be a grandmother. However, Gary's mother, Barbara, had a completely different reaction. Instead of sharing the joy, she reacted angrily upon learning that we had kept the pregnancy hidden. She felt excluded and specifically accused me of intentionally excluding her, despite my attempts to explain the reason behind it. Our decision. She continued to look upset and refused to interact with me. Her disapproval cast a shadow over what should have been a joyful family occasion. Throughout the evening, Barbara didn't speak to me at all. She showed disrespect, not only to me, but also to my mother, who had always been kind to her in their previous encounters. Barbara remained indifferent, during conversations absorbed in her phone, while everyone else participated in the family gathering. It was clear she was upset, and her discontent was palpable. She openly expressed to everyone how she had no idea about my pregnancy, feeling as if she had wasted precious time with a grandchild who wasn't even born. Yet my husband and one of his brothers sensed her frustration, and as the tension mounted, I reached a breaking point and decided to step outside for a moment to calm down. Mother, noticing my distress, came to comfort me until I felt composed enough to return. As the evening drew to a close, Barbara made a point of saying goodbye to me last after observing the disapproving looks from my husband's sister and parents all day. She barely exchanged more than a goodbye with me. Later, my husband walked them to the car, where they ended up having a heated argument that I could clearly hear from the lobby. Barbara took the opportunity to voice her complaints about me further, escalating the already awkward situation. Fortunately, all our guests had left by then, so it was just my parents, Gary and his parents. Angrily, she told my husband that she couldn't believe he had the audacity to hide this pregnancy from her, and that he had absolutely no regard for the family. My husband calmly explained that we had both decided to wait until we were out of the danger zone, and that everything was fine before sharing the news with everyone. Upon hearing this, Barbara began to scream. This was the conversation Barbara were talking about. Our grandson. I deserve to know from the beginning. Gary, Mom. It's not about deserving it or not. It was a decision we made together. She just wanted to be cautious. Barbara, cautious. His mother-in-law. He should have trusted me with this. It's all her fault. It was at this moment that my husband lost his patience. Till then, he had held back. But when he heard his mother continue accusing me, I saw his face turn red with anger. He firmly told his mother that he didn't want to tell her either. So if she was blaming me, she should blame him too. He continued telling her that she needed to get over this and stop overreacting. Barbara told him that he should open his eyes since he was leaving everything to me, and as his mother, she should have been the first to know if her son was going to have a grandchild. My husband stood firm and asked her to stop attacking me, saying that he loved her, but that he needed to leave and calm down before saying something he would later regret. As Barbara stormed off furious, my husband was visibly frustrated and disappointed with his mother's reaction. I wasn't aware of the tears streaming down my face. The sharpness of her words had left me hurt and bewildered. Gary, noticing my distress, rushed to comfort me and gently guided me back to the house. My parents, sensing the tension, kindly stayed until I felt emotionally composed and calm. Barbara didn't stop there. Later that night, I received a message from her, and my anxiety increased as I anticipated its contents. Her message read, "I must say I am deeply disappointed in you. You knowingly withheld a significant piece of information from me, and I find it absolutely unforgivable. I cannot believe you deprived me of the joy of knowing about my grandson from the very beginning. This is not how a family should operate, and I find it disrespectful and hurtful. Instead of apologizing to me for your immature action, you are now creating a rift between my son and me. It is shameful of you." Her words wounded me deeply, and I couldn't help but feel a mixture of anger and pain. I showed the message to Gary, and he was beyond angry. He couldn't understand why his mother would react so negatively and placed the blame entirely on me. Gary decided to call her, warning her not to send such negative messages as it could distress me even more. He even went so far as to threaten to cut off contact if this behavior continued. Gary's words and angry tone seemed to have an impact on Barbara. Faced with the possibility of being excluded, she changed her tone. Instead of acknowledging her own role in the conflict, she proposed a solution. She stated that the only way she could forgive us for what she perceived as an affront was if I allowed her to organize a baby shower for us. This sudden turn of events surprised us and made us skeptical about her motives. She continued pleading as nothing would bring her more joy than organizing a big celebration for me and her grandson where she would take care of everything. Gary looked at me curiously, but I remained skeptical about the sudden change in his tone of voice. To me, Barbara's change of attitude seemed more like a tactical maneuver to regain control and assert her dominance than a genuine attempt at reconciliation. Despite my reservations, Gary, always seeking a middle ground and trying to maintain peace, considered the idea of accepting her offer. I expressed my concerns to Gar, emphasizing that accepting her offer would only reinforce her belief that her behavior was acceptable. Gary understood my perspective, but told me he hoped that by allowing his mother to arrange a baby shower for me, we could repair relationships and create a more harmonious family environment before the baby's arrival. Reluctantly, I agreed, and Gary informed his mother to proceed with planning my baby shower. She was delighted and expressed her gratitude for being allowed to take the reins. Despite entrusting her with a responsibility, I assumed there would be some level of collaboration where she would seek my input and consider my preferences for my own baby shower. With the event still a month away, I anticipated more detailed planning would unfold in the coming week. However, to my dismay, I discovered that my mother-in-law had gone into overdrive. She took charge of purchasing all the decorations, choosing the games, and planning activities without consulting anyone, including me. When my mother contacted her to discuss the baby shower, my mother-in-law simply informed her that everything was decided and that it would be a surprise for me. The lack of communication and consideration left me disheartened and frustrated, as the event meant to celebrate a joyous occasion was being put together, without any regard for my preferences or wishes. On the day of my baby shower, the atmosphere was filled with a mixture of excitement and tension. I arrived at the venue, a local banquet hall, surrounded by my close friends who were eager to celebrate. The arrival of our little one were walking in. I couldn't help but notice the extravagant decorations my mother-in-law had chosen. A sea of brown and beige balloons adorned every corner, representing a theme that was entirely her own invention. Absolutely hated the decorations, as they looked like a failed attempt at a safari theme. The overwhelming presence of brown and beige clashed with the vibrant atmosphere I had envisioned for the celebration. I had imagined soft tones and delicate touches for my baby year, but clearly my mother-in-law had taken the opposite approach. The tension in the air intensified when my eyes fell on a striking display near the entrance, a huge banner with an elaborate collection of baby photos of my husband with Barbara. Everyone stared at it, confused, as we couldn't understand why she would choose to display my husband's baby photos during my baby year. I looked at her questioningly, and she dismissed it, saying that she hoped our baby would look exactly like my husband, and was very proud of how cute he was as a child, so she wanted to show him off. I all looked at her, trying to understand if she had really lost her mind. It was clear she was determined to make the day revolve more around her own experiences as a mother than the imminent addition to our family. As more guests arrived, Their expressions ranged from confusion to polite discomfort, taking in the room, the sea of brown and beige balloons, along with the gigantic banner. Showing my mother-in-law and my husband created an atmosphere far removed from the elegant and joyful ambiance I had envisioned for my baby. I exchanged apologetic glances with some of my friends, who clearly shared my feelings when my mother entered. Her eyes widened in shock at the absolute horror my mother-in-law had unleashed. Then her eyes settled on the banner, and I could sense her disbelief at the audacity of displaying something that, instead of celebrating my baby's arrival, looked more like an exhibit of my husband's childhood. In a bold move, my mother approached the banner, her expression changing from disbelief to determination. Without a word, she firmly grasped as the banner was removed from its prominent display. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to my mother as she carried away the intrusive display that overshadowed the celebration. I couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude towards my mother for her unwavering support. My mother-in-law busy talking to. Other guests watched in horror as my mother threw the banner into the trash can with a disapproving tone. "What do you think you're doing?" That banner was a special touch to celebrate the baby and the family. Undeterred by the disapproval, my mother replied in a firm but composed voice, "This celebration is about my daughter and her baby, not a showcase of your personal achievements." The guests around them were drawn to this unexpected confrontation, and my mother-in-law, sensing the shift in attention, tried to regain control of the situation. "Well, I thought it would be nice for everyone to know who is responsible for this beautiful event, just as I was responsible for organizing this lovely event. I wanted everyone to see how cute Gary was as a baby," she retorted, trying to hide her annoyance. My mother continued, "Barbara, you begged my daughter to let you organize this baby shower after how you behaved with her last time. This is my daughter's baby shower, not a platform for your personal agenda or an attempt to steal the spotlight." The room fell silent as the exchange with the guests unfolded, looking at each other uncomfortably as they realized their attempt to dictate the narrative had backfired. My mother-in-law withdrew with a forced smile and returned to her conversations with other guests. The baby shower continued after that, with me doing my best to focus on positive energy for my friends and family. Despite the tension that lingered throughout the event, thought there wouldn't be any more surprises from my mother-in-law, who seemed to be drinking a bit more than usual for a baby shower. But anyway, there was nothing I could say. We played several party games, and the guests seemed to be slowly starting to enjoy themselves. Then came the gift opening session, and I was pleasantly surprised by everyone's thoughtfulness with gifts for my baby. However, my anticipation turned to bewilderment when my mother-in-law handed me an unusually large gift box. With an exaggerated smile on her face, the room fell silent, and I felt a mixture of embarrassment and frustration. My mother glared at her, and the guests exchanged uncomfortable glances, unsure how to react to this unexpected turn of events, in an attempt to dispel the tension and avoid creating more conflicts. I managed a weak smile and thanked them for the thoughtful gift, while suppressing the urge to roll my eyes. The situation escalated further when it was time for the cake-cutting ceremony. My mother-in-law had ordered an extravagant multi-tiered cake with exaggerated decorations. She made a big show of it, clinking her glass for everyone to look at. It was starting to annoy me quite a bit, wondering what she was up to. Now we all looked at her curiously and waited for her to speak. Barbara announced, "So what have you come up with? The perfect name for our baby girl." I froze, hearing her words. "Keep in mind that we hadn't even decided on a name ourselves." She proudly declared that the baby would be named after her great-grandmother, a name that sounded like it came straight out of a Victorian novel. I was surprised and a little irritated that she assumed she had the right to choose the name. I politely intervened, explaining that my husband and I wanted to choose our baby's name together. It was a decision we wanted to make as parents. However, my mother-in-law didn't accept any of that. She insisted that she had the perfect name and that if she was a good daughter-in-law, she should accept it, since she had spent a lot of money on the baby shower. I was surprised by her sense of ownership. I firmly stated that only my husband and I had the right to name our baby, regardless of who had organized the baby shower. This decision belonged only to us. That's when my mother-in-law started yelling at me in front of everyone. She claimed that I was extremely disrespectful and that I should be grateful for everything she had done. She continued criticizing my parenting, insisting that I should be thanking her instead of denying her the right to name the baby. Barbara became increasingly aggressive, pointing her fingers at my face. My mother intervened, standing in front of me like a shield. Barbara continued yelling, asserting that she was truly the mother of my baby since she gave birth to my husband, and it was her mother who got me pregnant. Her words were truly disgusting to hear. Despite my mother's attempt to stop her nasty comments, Barbara just got angry, continuing to insult me and saying my mother had done a terrible job raising me. It was clear she'd drunk too much, and trying to speak sensibly was useless. The whole situation was getting worse, making everyone uncomfortable. Slowly realizing how the situation was escalating, I decided I'd endured enough humiliation. Trying to salvage some dignity, I decided to leave with the gifts my friends had generously brought, leaving behind the gift my mother-in-law had bought me. I asked one of my close friends to politely request that people leave the event. Barbara, undeterred, continued to hurl nasty accusations at me, creating a scene no one could have anticipated when they arrived for what should have been a joyful occasion. Frustration turned to anger, and as a last resort, I decided to call the police to remove her from my surroundings, as I was beginning to feel extremely unsafe with her aggressive behavior. Yes, you read that right. I had to involve the police in my own baby shower because of my toxic mother-in-law. When the officer arrived, Barbara went into full drama mode, pointing at me and portraying me as the mastermind behind the chaotic event. Fortunately, the police officers were understanding and tried to reason with her. However, being a drunk mother-in-law, she resisted their efforts and even started yelling at the police, which didn't work in her favor. The situation escalated to the point where she was arrested on the spot I left the event with. My mother and my close friends, all of us affected by the disturbing incident. Since this incident, my husband and I have been dealing with the aftermath. My mother-in-law is on a complete guilt trip, playing the victim card and getting sympathy from some relatives who weren't present at the baby shower since they don't live in the same city my husband, although he understands why I called the police, thinks I went a little too far. He believes I could have called him or his father for help. So, I'm the bad guy for calling the police my mother-in-law for ruining my baby shower and pretending to be the baby's real mother. Update 1. I am overwhelmed by the response I have received since I decided to share my experience at my baby shower. I would like to thank everyone for supporting my decision to call the police. I have never before witnessed such an aggressive reaction from my mother-in-law, given that I generally only saw her during holidays when I didn't spend much time with her. The level of aggression she displayed at the baby shower left me genuinely worried about the possibility of physical harm, especially considering the potential impact on my unborn child. Since the incident, every guest who attended the baby shower has reached out to express their support. Some have even shared recordings of the entire chaos, which I plan to show my husband. My intention is to have a serious conversation with him over the next weekend about the future with his mother. Update 2. I showed the recording to my husband. As I mentioned before, my husband and I sat down for a serious conversation about the events that had occurred. I explained in detail how his mother's behavior escalated throughout the incident, from the revelation of the hidden pregnancy to the scandalous baby shower I described in detail, the yelling, the accusations, and the strange gifts she presented. Then I shared the recordings with him, which my husband watched, visibly horrified. Watching the videos seemed like a reality for him, forcing him to confront the uncomfortable truth about his mother's actions. He began to sincerely apologize to me for underestimating the seriousness of the situation and acknowledged that I was right to call the police. I had no idea it would get to this point. I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that, he said. His face reflected both regret and frustration. He admitted that he never imagined his mother could be so toxic, as this seemed out of character for her. She assured me that she was on my side and emphasized that my safety and well-being, especially during pregnancy, were her top priorities. Then we delved into the underlying issues, discussing how his mother's need for control and validation had overshadowed what should have been a joyful occasion. Gary, grappling with the reality of his mother's actions, shared his own concerns about her behavior and acknowledged that she had crossed a line. I told him that after how his mother behaved towards me in front of everyone, I wanted to cut all ties with her. I went on to tell him that he could have a relationship with her if he so desired, but my son and I would not be part of his life, at least until his mother sought help for her aggressive behavior. Upon hearing this, Gary expressed that what his mother had done was beyond disgusting, and he was prepared to cut ties with her as well. I assured him that he didn't have to do such a thing, but my husband insisted that his mother had dared to disrespect me, therefore she had no right to be in our lives. He understood that this behavior of his mother wasn't just about the baby shower, but could have been the culmination of long-standing problems. Looking ahead, Gary has assured me that he will personally communicate our decision. I made it clear to his mother that cutting her out of our lives is entirely her choice. I also asked her to warn Barbara that if she decides to show up unexpectedly at our door to force me to take her back into our lives, then I will be forced to call the police again. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and for everyone asking, both the baby and I are doing well. I can't wait to meet my son very soon as the date. Since my last update approaches, we have ceased all communication with Barbara. Gary had a conversation with his parents, and his father assured him that he would take the necessary steps to ensure that my mother-in-law understands the boundaries we have set and respects our decision after cutting ties with Barbara. Our lives have undergone a remarkable change. The absence of constant drama and toxicity has brought a new sense of peace and tranquility to our home. Gary and I can now focus on preparing for the arrival of our baby, without the looming threat of Barbara's interruptions. The support we have received from friends and family has been invaluable during this challenging time. My parents and close friends have been pillars of strength, offering their encouragement and understanding. Even some family members who initially were unaware of the extent of Barbara's behavior have come forward to express their support after witnessing the shocking events last baby through the videos that have now gone viral. Our journey is far from over, but this experience has strengthened our bond and highlighted the importance of facing challenges together as a united front. The decision to cut ties with Barbara was not taken lightly, but it has proven to be a necessary step for our well-being. Although there may be lingering challenges, we are optimistic about the positive changes this choice has brought to our lives as we eagerly await the arrival of our little one. We are determined to build a loving and supportive family environment that prioritizes the well-being of both parents and child.